He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Three major areas tonight, as last night. Obamacare, the Gorsuch nomination, and Russia-Trump. And ladies and gentlemen, let me start with the latter. This isn't really Russia-Trump. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. These stories that we've been reading for months now, the New York Times, January 17, NSA gets more latitude to share intercepted communications. On January 3rd, it does. Or March 1, 2017, New York Times, Obama administration rushed to preserve intelligence of Russian election hacking. White House officials scrambled to spread information. They wanted to leave a clear trail of intelligence to government investigators. February 14, Trump campaign aides had repeated contacts with Russian intelligence, New York Times. I can go on and on. There's that. And then there's the bombshell from Chairman Nunes. And by the way, Chairman Nunes is under brutal attack, the way I was attacked for several weeks, because he's changed the narrative of the media and the Democrats. They're one and the same. The Praetorian Guard media protecting the Democrats and protecting the Obama administration. These surveillance activities, these transcription activities, these distribution activities, the leaking and so forth, that's on the hands of the Obama administration. I heard a troublesome interview with Jake Tapper this morning on my home station, WMAL, in Washington. And he was pathetic, rambling, saying Nunes really didn't have anything, really didn't explain himself clearly and so forth as he was being praised, that is Tapper. I'm going, what is this? This is pathetic. CNN is pathetic. And his comments were pathetic. In The Federalist, Molly Hemingway succinctly says this: I want to be clear in terms of the surveillance that Nunes talked about. None of this surveillance was related to Russia or the investigation of Russian activities or of the Trump team. That is the Nunes information. Again, she writes, number one, information was collected on the Trump team by Obama administration agencies. Number two, this information had no reason to be shared in intelligence reports to Obama officials. Number three, Obama officials may have flouted legally required attempts to minimize and mask personal identifying information. Number four, this had nothing to do with Russia. This was the Obama administration, ladies and gentlemen. All the focus on Trump. Trump wasn't conducting, or his administration, surveillance activities on Democrats, on Hillary, on Obama. Trump's administration wasn't putting information about Obama and Hillary and so forth in intelligence reports, information that was gotten through incidental collection. And yet, look how it's turned around. Look how the Democrats and the media have turned it around. This is why they've been attacking me, and I can handle it. I don't mind it. These battles need to be fought. This is why they're going after Nunes. And as for Nunes, they say, well, he went to the White House, so he cannot be trusted, you see, to conduct this investigation into Russia and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, what Nunes took to the White House had nothing to do with Russia. Had nothing to do with the Russian investigation. A whistleblower, or more than one whistleblower, somewhere in the labyrinth of the intelligence agencies and law enforcement, brought him numerous intelligence reports where the President of the United States, his family, his transition team, they were revealed. And rather than purge that information, like the Obama administration was supposed to do, the Obama administration kept the information, transcribed it, put it in reports, and spread it around the federal government. You won't hear this on CNN or ABC or NBC or MSNBC or CBS. You won't read this in the New York Times or the Washington Post. This is the great issue. The Obama administration's activities when it comes to the politicization of intelligence activity and perhaps law enforcement activity. And it wouldn't be the first time. Ask the Prime Minister of Israel. Ask the Jewish groups that opposed the Iran deal. Ask the members of Congress, all of whom, through incidental communications, wound up having their names and their information put in intelligence reports. And much of that got back to the White House. This isn't some game. This isn't some joke. Now we're all supposed to trash Devin Nunes because the guy had the brass to get in front of a microphone not once but twice and go down to the White House and say, Mr. President, I want you to know what your branch of the government is up to. I want you to know that you and or your family and or your transition team are in intelligence reports that were spread around the government by the Obama administration. And yet, we get endless doses of this fool Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is now concerned about the bipartisan nature of the investigation of the House Intelligence Committee. Adam Schiff, who demanded that Jeff Sessions step down. Adam Schiff, who demanded a special prosecutor. Adam Schiff, who has been demanding an independent commission. And the reason is they want to further politicize this so they can keep pointing to it and pointing to it. I told you the day after the election when Trump won, this is exactly the sort of thing they would do. You heard them talking about impeachment, right? Now you hear them talking about criminality, right? Now they've tried to create a scandal, right? And the big issue for 3 weeks is Donald Trump's tweet. Donald Trump's tweet is a non-issue. Everybody knew what he meant, but the media do not care. The same media that talk about a living and breathing Constitution. You can't really count on the words in the text. All of a sudden, every syllable in Donald Trump's tweets are to be taken literally. But his tweet isn't the threat. What has transpired for 8 months is the problem. For 8 months, salami tactics. For 8 months, cherry picking. For 8 months, little leaks here and little leaks here. And then when you call them on it, the fangs come out. The nails come out. They attack. And they lie. And they insinuate, and they suggest, and they throw around terms like conspiracy theories and so forth. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, we have very, very conniving, weak Republicans. The Democrats, it's one for all and all for one. I'll give you a perfect example of this. John McCain goes on MSNBC last night. Goes on the most liberal cable TV network purposely. Not to call for an investigation of the Obama administration, not because he's concerned that the Trump family, Trump transition, Trump name is in intelligence reports being spread around, not because he's concerned about White House officials in the Obama administration spreading around intelligence information of some sort or another, or that the NSA got more latitude to share intercepted communications 17 days before the end of the Obama administration. No, none of that concerns John McCain. Go to Cut 9, MSNBC last night. Go.
What we need is a select committee. We know that the Russians interfered with our election, and they did not achieve in affecting the outcome, but we know that for sure. We know that there are cyber attacks going on all the time. There are leaks going on all the time. And so what we need to address this whole issue of what the Russians did, how they did it, the impact, and what we do about it, I now believe belongs in the hands of a select committee. What I think the reason why I'm calling for this select committee or a special committee is I think that this back and forth and what the American people have found out so far, that no longer Congress have credibility to handle this alone. And I don't say that lightly.
So Congress doesn't have credibility to handle this alone. So the Democrats, you see, they create these questions, they create these controversies. They turn the facts on their head. They accuse anybody who disagrees with them of a conspiracy. Their mouthpieces, their surrogates in the media do exactly the same thing. And John McCain falls for it, and so do these other Republicans. Rather than stand strong. And what they should be saying now is we have story after story and issue after issue with the prior administration's conduct when it comes to intelligence activity and law enforcement activity. And they should look at it. They should look at what this administration, the Obama administration, did to the media. That is, Fox News, and particularly James Rosen and his parents. They should look at what the administration did through the Justice Department to the Associated Press. Other threats of a New York Times reporter that took place. They should look at what this administration did with an ally, the Prime Minister of Israel, attempting to interfere with that election and surveilling the Prime Minister of Israel aggressively. So they were collecting information also through the back door, of course, on members of Congress and Jewish organizations. They should look at all this. Yes, they should look at the conduct of this administration starting about a year ago during the course of this election. Its intelligence activity, its law enforcement activity, going right through the election process into the inauguration. They got newspaper articles with selective leaks, all intended to smear the incoming administration. If in fact there's evidence of collusion or whatever, you don't conduct investigations this way. You don't keep leaking information to the media. If you have the goods on somebody, you keep it quiet. And then you spring it on them. And you take effective legal action against them. You don't put it in the pages of the New York Times or the Washington Post or the BBC or the Guardian or McClatchy newspapers or any of the rest of them. You want to keep that information close to your chest until you're ready to spring and act if you're in law enforcement. The American people have a right to know a lot, Mr. McCain. And you're not asking the right questions at all. You want to talk about process. I've yet to hear you talk, Senator McCain, about the final days of the Obama administration expanding the power of the NSA to share globally intercepted personal communications with the government's 16 other intelligence agencies before applying privacy protections. That, Senator McCain, you don't need a select committee for that. That, sir, is the January 12th, 2017 New York Times. Even your staffers should be able to pick that up, sir. Or this one. March 1. Obama administration rushed to preserve intelligence of Russian election hacking. In the Obama administration's last days, Obama administration, White House officials. And yet, you won't hear this on CNN. You won't hear it on MSNBC, NBC, CBS, the rest of them. It's as if that administration never existed. We talk about the NSA and the FBI and the Department of Justice. We talk about intelligence reports. It all comes within the umbrella of the Obama administration. These agencies report. They report up eventually to the President of the United States. But the Praetorian Guard media wants none of it. Trump campaign aides had repeated contacts with Russian intelligence. February 14, New York Times. Okay. Meaning what? Meaning what? We have felonies committed in the leaking of information. Felonies committed. We even have the suggestion by a nitwit, Congressman Castro on the Intel Committee, and other nitwits all over the media, that the information Nunes brought to the White House must have been given to Nunes by the White House. You ever heard anything so insane? You talk about conspiracy theories. The focus is all screwed up. The focus should be on the conduct of these investigations by the executive branch. Who was investigating what? On what pretext? And under what statutory authority? During the course of a presidential campaign, a Democrat administration, a Republican candidate. This is a big deal. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This is a short segment. I'm going to play a clip after the bottom of the hour from CNN and show you what kind of a schlock operation that is. What they consider news and what they don't consider news. Now, I want you to keep something in mind. Mr. Nunes is going to continue to come under attack. I will continue to come under attack because I pulled the yarn on the sweater that started to unravel all this, and that's a good thing. Others are going to come under attack. Then you'll see the phony Republicans jump on the side of the media. You'll watch people like McCain. That's what they'll do. But don't worry about any of that. Here's the point. The focus is, to me, what was the Obama administration doing during the course of this election? Its various instrumentalities. The New York Times, the media, give us a trail. Now, they try to cover up their trail now. They denounce themselves. But they give us somewhat of a trail, don't they? I'll be right back.
Unwind.
I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that if a Republican administration, Nixon, Ford, Reagan, Bush, Trump, had been doing what the Obama administration appears to have been doing during the course of an election, and after the election, there would be massive attention brought to this. Massive attention focused on the conduct, in this case, of the Obama administration. But because it's Obama, because it's Democrats, because it's left-wing, moreover, because it's Trump, because it's Republicans, they don't do it. The attack now is on Nunes. And that includes fools like John McCain. You can always tell where the media is going and just watch John McCain. But I want you to listen to this breaking story on CNN. This is what they consider a breaking story, folks. I want you to listen carefully, at least to the front end of this breaking story on CNN yesterday. Go.
CNN has learned new details of the FBI investigation into potential links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government. CNN's Pamela Brown and Evan Perez join us now. They broke the story along with our justice reporter, Shimon Prokupez.
And let's stop right there. This underscores the point, doesn't it? The information goes to Nunes because the information is provided by somebody who's trying to right a wrong, who's saying, wow, I'm watching these hearings. The chairman needs to know what's going on. Here, the information is being leaked to CNN in an effort to smear the president. In an effort to smear the president. FBI sources. Go ahead.
Shimon Prokupez. Pam, first, what are you learning?
Well, Anderson, the FBI has information that indicates associates of President Donald Trump communicated with suspected Russian operatives to possibly coordinate the release of information damaging to Hillary Clinton's campaign, U.S. officials told us. FBI.
Right there. To possibly. Do you hear that word? Do you hear that, Mr. Producer? To possibly. Go ahead.
The Trump campaign's ties to Russia. So the FBI is now reviewing this information, which includes human intelligence, travel, business, and phone records, as well as accounts of in-person meetings, according to the officials we've spoken with. And the information is raising the suspicions of FBI counterintelligence investigators.
Suspicions. Possibly. And suspicions. From FBI officials. Go ahead.
That the coordination may have taken place.
Stop. May. Possibly. Suspicions. And may. And listen to how she's breathlessly reporting this. Possibly, suspicions, and may. Go ahead.
That this information was not conclusive and that this
Stop. The information is not conclusive. You hearing all this, Rich? Possibly. Suspicions. May. Not conclusive. In the first, 30 or 40 seconds of the news story, quote unquote, possibly. Suspicions. May. Not conclusive. FBI officials. Go ahead.
And that this investigation is ongoing. The FBI would not comment, nor would the White House, though Trump officials have denied there is any evidence of collusion, Anderson.
So, Evan, this gives more insight into what Director Comey knew when he spoke.
So this gives insight to Anderson Cooper and CNN into what Director Comey must have been saying during the hearings. Because it's so decisive and compelling and substantive and informative. Possibly, suspicions, may, not conclusive. Go ahead.
Well, that's right, Anderson. If you recall, in addition to Comey saying that the investigation includes looking at connections of Trump associates, he also explained what it means that the investigation is actually being done. Take a listen.
Don't you need some action or some information besides just attending a meeting, having been paid to attend a conference, that a picture was taken, or that you traveled to a country before you're open to investigation for counterintelligence by the FBI?
The standard is, I think there's a couple different at play, a credible allegation of wrongdoing or a reasonable basis to believe that an American may be acting as an agent of a foreign power.
Stop. So they play Comey. We all heard that. That's not news. We heard Comey when he said it on Monday. So we have possibly suspicions, may, not conclusive, a repetition, that is a replaying of what Comey said in public, which we all heard at the House Intelligence Committee on Monday. Now, let's continue with this breaking news story. Go ahead.
One law enforcement official said that the information in hand suggests, quote, people connected to the campaign were in contact, and it appeared that they were giving the thumbs up to release information when it was ready.
Stop. Appeared. Possibly. Suspicious. May. Not conclusive. Appeared. Now, other law enforcement officials said what? Go ahead.
Said it's premature to draw that inference from the information.
Oh, it's premature, other law enforcement officials said. So, other law enforcement officials said it's premature to draw these conclusions. Possibly suspicious. May, not conclusive, appeared, and premature. Can you think of any other weasel words for reporters to use to throw a story out there and say they are breaking news, breathlessly reporting? Go ahead.
Gathered so far, since at this point it's largely circumstantial. The FBI
now hold on a second. So it's largely circumstantial. Largely circumstantial. Now, I am sure that the Los Angeles Times is going to do a story on how this conspiracy got its start with fake liberal media. And I am sure the morning schmo, who looks like the little banjo player on the bridge from the movie Deliverance, I'm sure Joe Deliverance is going to talk about this. Or Brian Ross, the clown that's dressed up at ABC News as an investigator. I'm sure he's going to be all over this. Or Brian Stelter, if that is his name, in his Nobody Watches Sunday show. I wonder if he's going to cover this too. This is a CNN report, ladies and gentlemen. Possibly, suspicious, may, not conclusive, appears, premature, largely circumstantial. That's their words. Go ahead.
Cannot yet prove that collusion actually took place.
Oh, and we cannot yet prove collusion took place. So we come full circle. And I seem to recall this Sunday it'll be 3 weeks where Meet the Depressed and Chuck Todd had another news-breaking revelation when they had James Clapper on, the former director of national intelligence, who said there's absolutely no evidence of collusion. And Mr. Producer, and bring back that montage for after the break about is there collusion, there is no collusion, just to remind the people how spectacular the media are. So this was the breaking, breathlessly reported Anderson Cooper show news last night that has been repeated again and again on CNN and elsewhere and quoted in other places. Possibly, suspicious, may, not conclusive, appeared, premature, largely circumstantial, and not conclusive. Let's go with the montage. Go ahead.
Do you believe there's any evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia?
There is this suggestion out there from an awful lot of Trump critics that those dots may well connect in some way that points to collusion.
Of alleged collusion between Donald Trump and Russia.
A dossier bluntly asserts that there was collusion.
Allegations of Russian collusion.
The allegations of collusion with Russia, or that there was some greater potential collusion.
And lying about collusion.
Criminality or collusion.
Now, I'm not even at the direct collusion stage yet. I'm not saying that there was necessarily collusion.
Possible collusion.
Whether there was collusion with the Russians.
And any collusion, alleged collusion.
And this question of collusion.
Is there any evidence of collusion?
Any evidence of any connections between the Trump campaign collusion?
We don't know it.
But Congressman, you said with the collusion, there's no evidence that there's collusion.
But they didn't find any evidence of collusion.
We have no evidence of collusion.
Or there is no evidence of collusion between the Russians and the Trump campaign.
And when it comes to the issue of collusion, which was the word that was used today, it depends how direct you're talking.
But at this point, what's not proven is the idea of collusion.
That's correct.
Was there collusion? Collusion. Was there collusion? Then there's no evidence collusion, no evidence. Now, breaking story. A possible collusion. Possible, suspicious, may, not conclusive, appears, premature, largely circumstantial, not conclusive. Pathetic. Disgusting. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to the beginning. These media reports are a joke. They are result-oriented. They are ideologically driven. And there's a reason why. The media are cheerleaders for the Democrats, because they're essentially one and the same. They're essentially one and the same. There's a reason why the Obama administration cannot be mentioned. You can't mention it. But we will mention it. All these investigative activities, all of them, whether on the intelligence side or the law enforcement side, all of these leaks occurred from and during and as a result of the Obama administration. And the Obama administration has a very, very bad history when it comes to civil liberties and privacy rights. When it comes to freedom of the press and respect for civil liberties. And that is what needs to be investigated, ladies and gentlemen. And with Republicans controlling the House and the Senate and the White House, that's exactly what needs to be done. The problem we have, of course, the John McCain types and so forth, and and Republicans who allow the media to intimidate them. I would tell the Republicans this: don't be intimidated by the media. They're not as strong as they think they are. They're very, very easy to pierce. Just stick to the facts. Stick to logic. Stick to your principles, and you'll win every time. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Oh, yes, incidental intelligence information. It's incidental, you know. And then you record it and transcribe it and spread it around. Is that incidental, too? Is that incidental? And the other investigation, being led by Mr. Comey, J. Edgar Comey. Well, they don't have to wait around for incidental, do they? They're conducting a counterintelligence investigation. They can get real warrants. So, ladies and gentlemen, from my perspective, I'm all for investigating the extent to which Russia was involved in our election. I have nothing but contempt for Vladimir Putin, and I believe he is our enemy. It demonstrates it every damn day. But, ladies and gentlemen, the issue is also whether the prior administration interfered with our election, isn't it? You have no evidence, Mark. Well, I mean, there's a lot of information out here, isn't there, Mr. Producer? I mean, possibly it's suspicious. Maybe they did. I know it's not conclusive, but it appears to me maybe it's premature. Maybe it's circumstantial. Again, it's not conclusive, but hey, I'm quoting CNN there. You know, another 32 million email accounts have been breached. This on top of the previously announced 1.5 billion in recent years. This time, hackers used forged cookies to gain access to protected accounts. Stolen information was posted for sale on the dark web last August for $300,000. Now, the Internet company has since removed the cookies from their system. To avoid identity theft, what do? Well, you reset your email accounts with strong passwords. Identity theft is America's fastest-growing crime. Now, it happens when thieves use your information to pretend they're you, and they can buy things on your credit or liquidate your bank accounts. LifeLock scans hundreds of millions of transactions every second. And if they detect your information, they send you an alert. If you have a problem, a U.S.-based agent will work to fix it. Free credit monitoring only alerts you to changes in credit. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But LifeLock is the best identity theft protection available anywhere. So go to LifeLock.com, LifeLock.com, or call 1-800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock. But here's the key. Use promo code Levin. That's promo code Levin, so you get 10% off your LifeLock membership. Visit LifeLock.com. Save 10% now with promo code Levin, or call 1-800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock, promo code Levin. Now, the Obama administration interfered with the election in Israel. Some have argued it interfered with elections in other places, too. The Obama administration, and I argue, misused, or at least inappropriately used, investigative resources against reporters. Oh, it's true. The Obama administration used incidental information to learn about what members of Congress were being told and what they told the Prime Minister of Israel and Jewish organizations. Does this not bother anybody? Is not anybody concerned about this? We got to listen to this clown, this hack, Adam Schiff. He says he wants bipartisanship, and Mr. Nunes has showed he can't be independent because he ran to the White House. He didn't run to the White House over the Russia matter. He ran to the White House to tell the President of the United States what's in the intelligence reports being produced by the executive branch. That name is family, that name the transition and so forth, that have nothing to do with an authentic investigation of Donald Trump. Nothing. I don't know where these things are going to end up. That's not even my point. The politicization of this by the Democrats and the media, the politicization of this by the Obama administration to setting up the conditions where it would be easier to leak. Let's talk Turkey. NSA gets more latitude to share intercepted communications. And that's exactly what they did. In the final days, the Obama administration, New York Times, has expanded the power of the National Security Agency to... Pay attention, Tapper, I'm educating you. To share globally intercepted personal communications with the government's 16 other intelligence agencies before applying privacy protections. Mr. Schiff could give a damn about it, doesn't even ask about it. Mr. McCain doesn't give a damn about it, doesn't even ask about it. Doesn't even ask about it. The spreading of information, according to the New York Times, the spreading of information by White House officials. By White House officials. They don't even ask about it. They don't even care about it. They don't even want to know which officials or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So the issues on the table, ladies and gentlemen, number one, the Russians and their interference in our election. Okay, got it. Number two, the Obama administration and its potential interference or attempt to interfere with the election, too. Oh, did he say that? You're damn right I said it. Look, possibly, maybe, non-conclusive, you know. You never know. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811, Radio Free America. That's what you're listening to. Lots of stuff going on here. These articles that I pulled together 3 weeks ago on Thursday and laid out for you, and did it on Levin TV, and then did it on Fox and Friends Sunday morning, and did it again on Hannity that Monday. More and more people are now referring to them. And that's important. That's why I keep pounding away. I don't expect them to give attribution. I understand how this game works. But we'll keep pushing them out, keep pushing them out. I will keep monitoring these things. I've got the kind of experience that most of these other people simply do not have. Most of them read websites and talking points and all the rest. We create the talking points for the other people, in essence. Now, I want to wrap this up because I want to move into Obamacare and the Gorsuch situation. But I want you to hear some of the chorus, some of the practiced chorus now being used to attack Nunes and the media attacking Nunes. I saw this Dana Bash on CNN. 5 liberals. Very odd, too. There's a group of 5, and she's sitting next to her ex-husband, this guy, John, what is his name? Harris? Whatever his name is. The whole thing is weird. But anyway, so, and they always agree with each other. And they're always liberal. But when Nunes says, look, it's my job to tell the president, no, it's not his job to do that, says Dana Bash, journalist. That's the Oversight Committee. Dana Bash, journalist. He went to the White House to tell the president of misconduct he believed was occurring in his administration. It had nothing to do with Russia. So all these people saying Nunes must step down, we need an independent commission because he's a lackey for Trump. It's nothing to do with Russia. Nothing. These are the sorts of things you heard today. Another CNN guy by the name of Chris Cuomo, well-known long Republican, from a well-known Republican family, the Cuomos. And he's the reporter, not the guest, talking to Elijah Cummings, who's always running interference for Democrats. Cut 4, go.
Devin Nunes, have you ever heard of the chair.
No. Let's start. Let's listen to how this jerk poses his question. Okay? Go ahead.
Devin Nunes, have you ever heard of the chair of an independent committee doing what Nunes just did?
All right, stop. It's not an independent committee. It's an intelligence committee. What does it mean, independent? It's a committee of Congress. Go ahead.
Information that wasn't necessarily new, but was certainly helpful to the White House, going around the committee, going to the press, and going to
Whoa. Information not necessarily new. It's new to me. Isn't it to you folks? Going around. This has nothing to do with the Russia matter. Nothing. Russia isn't mentioned in any of the materials, according to Nunes. This is a wholly separate matter in which the victim is the president and the transition team and his family. Do they not care about the abuse of power? Do they not care? Answer, no, they don't. Go ahead.
No. As you know, I was a ranking member of the Benghazi Committee.
Yeah, and you sucked. We know, and you sucked. Go ahead.
Allowed that to happen. The Intelligence Committee is a very special committee. They are privy to information that most members of Congress may never see. Oh. And so you expect them to be extremely confidential. What he did was basically to go to the president who's being investigated.
Whoa. The president's not being... This is what I mean. The IQs in the media and Congress are so low. The president's not being investigated for this, if he's being investigated at all. They are the victims of what's been done, according to Nunes. They're not under investigation for the incidental information that's in these reports. Go ahead.
And others, and by the Intelligence Committee.
Shut up, you idiot. Now, next idiot. Ben Cardin, Maryland. Another fraud. Another fake. A senator. Cut 5, go.
What would it mean for the chair to do something like this without telling the rank?
These are questions where they're saying, come on, stick it to him. Come on. I'm a journalist. I'm asking, have you ever seen anything like this? What do you mean? The guy goes around the Democrats. He can't do that. Go ahead.
I've never heard of this done before, ever. I've been involved in a lot of sensitive...
Hey, clown. He went to the president to inform the president what was in these reports. The president is not under investigation for anything related to these reports. He's not under investigation at all. But he, his administration, his surrogates, the transition team, the campaign, are not under investigation for what was revealed and spread around in these reports. But notice how they keep saying the same thing. Now, they're either as stupid as can be, or they're as dishonest as can be. And by the way, they're not mutually exclusive when it comes to Ben Cardin. Go ahead.
Information with a ranking member, with a chairman, and I have never heard of this being done before. There is an unwritten rule that you don't go to the press without having a conversation with your counterpart on the other.
Oh, bull crap. You Democrats are scheming up on the Hill all the time. Don't give me that the Democrats on Capitol Hill, ladies and gentlemen, before they go to the media, before they do anything, they always consult with the Republicans, don't you know? We saw that all through the Obamacare period, didn't we? Oh, yeah, always consulting with the Republicans, because that's what Democrats do. Go ahead.
The ranking member or the chairman. That is the way that you do business. It really undermines the credibility.
You shut up, too, you moron. Now let's go to the biggest clown of them all. Nancy Stretch Pelosi. I hope all the media are writing down the little phrases I use. Look what he said about this one. Look what he said about that one. Oh, my God! Nancy Stretch Pelosi. For obvious reasons. Go.
As you know, yesterday, in another diversionary tactic, Deflector-in-Chief created some kind of a scenario where...
All right, stop. will we be getting a story in the L.A. Slimes or by Jake Tapper or anybody else on Nancy Pelosi, left-wing coup conspirator? Start from the beginning. Let's hear this again, Mr. Producer.
As you know, yesterday, in another diversionary tactic, deflector-in-chief created some kind of a scenario.
So Trump created the scenario. What she's implying is Trump gave, she said the deflector-in-chief. She means the defector, right? No, maybe she means the deflector. In any event, what she's saying there is, Trump gave the information to Nunes to use. So Trump is defecting or deflecting. Go ahead.
He either duped or the chairman of the committee was a willing stooge.
Stop. So Trump duped Nunes, or Nunes was a willing stooge. Is there any evidence for this, Mr. Tapper? You're gonna focus. She's the Democrat leader in the House. Any evidence for this, Stelzer, whatever the hell your name is? Any evidence for this? The two stooges at the L.A. Slimes? It's funny she should use the word stooge. Isn't that what I usually call them, Mr. Producer? Go ahead.
He committed a stunt with the White House yesterday, raising questions about Chairman Nunes's impartiality, especially giving his history as a part of the Trump transition team.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And, of course, Adam Schiff had his head so far up Hillary Clinton's campaign and is a complete hack. They're politicians. They're not, that's what they are. They support different candidates. But let me try this again, because Nancy Stretch Pelosi has a negative IQ. Nunes went to the White House to tell the president about information that shouldn't be in these intelligence reports, reportedly about him and his family and the transition team. That is, they are not under investigation. They are the victims. The investigation needs to be of those who put this information in these reports and circulated them widely. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he has demonstrated.
You shut up too, you moron. Now, when we come back, Obamacare. And I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, I was going to move to Obamacare, and I will very shortly. There's a breaking story at Fox by James Rosen. James Rosen has a history of being an excellent and accurate reporter, a very careful reporter. I'm just going to read his news story. I'm just going to read it. I have no idea, independently of any of this, but I'm going to read his news story. The headline, Potential Smoking Gun Showing Obama Administration Spied on Trump Team, sources say. Now, I got to believe if you're a renowned and established career journalist, you don't write a story like this unless you have the goods. But time will tell. Republican congressional investigators expect a potential smoking gun establishing that the Obama administration spied on the Trump transition team, and possibly the president-elect himself, will be produced to the House Intelligence Committee this week, a source told Fox News. Well, what's today? Isn't this weekend tomorrow? Yeah. I'm just reading it. Assuming this isn't a gag or something. Classified intelligence showing incidental collection of Trump team communications purportedly seen by committee chairman Devin Nunes and described by him in vague terms at a bombshell Wednesday afternoon news conference came from multiple sources. Capitol Hill sources told Fox News. The intelligence corroborated information about surveillance of the Trump team that was known to Nunes, sources said, even before President Trump accused his predecessor of having wiretapped him in a series of now infamous tweets posted on March 4. Seeing if there's anything new here. The intelligence is said to leave no doubt that the Obama administration in its closing days was using the cover of legitimate surveillance on foreign targets to spy on President-elect Trump, according to sources. The key to that conclusion is the unmasking of selected U.S. persons whose names appeared in the intelligence, the sources said, adding that the paper trail leaves no other plausible purpose for the unmasking other than to damage the incoming Trump administration. Now, it's always dangerous to read from the news because the news attacks you from reading from the news, doesn't it, Mr. Producer? The FBI hasn't been responsive to the House Intelligence Committee's request for documents, but the National Security Agency is expected to produce documents to the committee by Friday, tomorrow. The NSA document production is expected to produce more intelligence than Nunes has so far seen or described, including what one source described as a potential smoking gun establishing the spying. Some time will be needed to properly assess the materials, with the likely result being that congressional investigators and attorneys won't have a solid handle on the contents of the documents and their implications until next week. I'm just reading it. Because Nunes' intelligence came from multiple sources during a span of several weeks, and he has not shared the actual materials with his committee colleagues. He will be the only member of the panel in a position to know whether the NSA has turned over some or all of the intelligence he is citing. However, Fox News was told Intelligence Committee ranking member Representative Adam Schiff had been briefed on the basic contents of the intelligence described by Nunes. CIA Director Mike Pompeo is also sympathetic to the effort to determine with documentary evidence the extent of any alleged Obama administration spying on the Trump team, sources said. At a dramatic Wednesday news conference, Nunes claimed to have seen evidence that members of the Trump transition team, possibly including the president-elect, were subjected to incidental surveillance, collection that Nunes characterized as legal but troubling. What I've read bothers me, he told reporters, and I think it should bother the president himself and his team because I think some of it seems to be inappropriate. Schiff blasted Nunes for not coming first to the Intelligence Committee with the information and so forth. So there it is. We'll know more tomorrow or next week or what have you. We'll know more. That's a news story. I read it. It's a news story. I didn't make it up. That's a news story. All right, I want to get to Obamacare. I've been watching some Republicans who are all for the Ryan proposal and were from day one, who've really done nothing to help improve it. Whatever improvements there are, no thanks to them. No thanks to guys like Adam Kinzinger and most of the other Republicans who just go along. We got to show the American people that we'll do what we promised. But you're not. It's a pretend repeal. It's a fake, a fraud. Then I saw some jerk from Alabama. I can't remember his name. I wish I could. And he's played over and over and over again on Fox. He's got kind of thick, grayish, whitish hair. And he's going on about, well, this is very simple. You know, it's a vote for Trump or a vote against Trump. So that guy's a moron. Another negative IQ. No, this is a vote about the American people, you clown. This is a vote about the American people and our insurance and what we're going to be able to do as a free people. Whether they're going to be free to purchase health care that we want, purchase health care that we can afford, with deductibles we can afford. It's not about Trump. It's not about the Republicans, the Democrats, the governors, the this one, the that one, the other one. It's not about the ruling class or politicians or bureaucrats. This is about you and me. You and me. We're the ones that have to make doctor's appointments. We're the ones that have to have surgical procedures. We're the ones trying to take care of family members. We're the ones trying to figure out how to pay for policies and deductibles and all the rest of it. It's not about them. And they've screwed it up plenty. The Democrats, with their Soviet-style mentality, and the Republicans, with their quasi-Soviet-style mentality. They started off with such a piss-bad bill, yeah, I said it, that people are trying to figure out how to fix it. And then we have the moderates. It's amazing. We have conservatives, a nomenclature that's accurate, and then we have moderates. Moderates, that is, liberal Republicans that want to expand Medicaid. Liberal Republicans that want all this redistribution of wealth with these Obama policies. Which is what I've told you before. There's enough of a percentage of the Republican Party in the House and the Senate that do not want to repeal Obamacare, which is exactly why the Vice President of the United States will not sit as President of the United States Senate, sit there and make the decisions on what can and cannot be used in the reconciliation process. I will get into this a little bit more, but I want to strongly encourage you. If you agree with me, you better call your House member right now. Forget about the Senate. They're not involved right now. You better call your House member right now and politely say, vote no. Vote no. That's 202-225-3121. I'll be right back. Obamacare. You know, I have to laugh watching these Republicans who would vote for anything. 90% of them in the House would vote for anything that's put in front of them. Just to be able to go home and say, see, I voted for this. We have to learn how to govern, and I voted to repeal Obamacare, lying through their teeth to their Republican constituents, among others, like Adam Kingset. And he's not the only one. This guy, Sean Duffy, I saw him on TV a week or so ago, looked like a fool. And conservatives were called naysayers. If you raise objections, that means you're against Donald Trump. So any effort to perfect the bill in any significant way, in order to make sure that they actually do follow through on their promise. Look, they didn't promise just to vote for another bill and call it a repeal. They promised to rip out Obamacare, right? By the roots. They're not ripping out Obamacare by the roots. That was the promise, to rip it out by the roots. The Medicaid expansion stays. All the big cost drivers stay. They dress it up with some of these phony federalism ideas, which are not federalism ideas at all. I saw the former director of the Congressional Budget Office. He's on TV pushing this. I think he's a Bush guy. And when it was said that the problem with this is it doesn't drive down the cost of policies, he said, yes, it does. The CBO said it does. Ladies and gentlemen, the proponents of this bill say it drives down the cost of policies several years out. Now, you know that's not going to happen. The only way you drive down the cost of policies is to withdraw the iron fist of government and allow the unleashing of competition. In your own lives, those of you who work in the private sector, in your own lives, you have to compete. You have to compete. You have to compete to have a successful business. And for the consumer, the reason why so many things are affordable in this country is because of capitalism, market capitalism, and entrepreneurship and free enterprise. And yet all these things are handcuffed under the Rhino bill, repeal in name only. All this talk about conservatism and free markets and capitalism and attacking Obamacare. The promise wasn't to replace Obamacare with Obamacare Light. The promise was to pull Obamacare out by the roots and kill it. In order that a market system would replace it of some kind. The way you drive down costs is by driving down costs, by reducing red tape, by reducing the iron fist of government, by reducing the amount of bureaucracy that's involved, the mandates, the dictates, by allowing companies to sell whatever kind of policy they want. And you'll decide if those policies are popular or not. If they're not popular, they're not going to offer them. If they are popular, they are going to offer them. And allowing companies to do business within the entire United States, not just within certain states. What other business can only do business within the borders of its state? Can only sell certain things within the border of a state? We don't even do that with toasters. Man, look, we have rules on toasters in Virginia. They're different than Pennsylvania. Excuse me? We have a Commerce Clause in our Constitution. The purpose of the Commerce Clause is to promote commerce, not regulations. The whole reason that we had a constitutional convention in Philadelphia in 1787, it actually started with a proposed meeting of state delegates in Annapolis, Maryland, a few months earlier, to discuss commerce. We were getting creamed by the European powers because under the Articles of Confederation, the states were at each other's throats. They would tax, they would protect businesses in their own states by punishing any out-of-state businesses that wanted to do business. They would heavily tax products, agricultural products or whatever, that were coming from one state or the other. They were fighting over navigable waters that were on their borders. And it was becoming an impossible situation. Believe it or not, they didn't call it capitalism back then, but the reason they had originally the Constitutional Convention was not simply because the Articles of Confederation were ineffective, which they were. It's because they wanted to promote what we call today capitalism and commerce and trade. By the way, it never occurred to them to have an income tax. It didn't even occur to them. That's why you had tariffs and things like that to pay for the government. Which, of course, the nationalist, protectionist, populists say, see that? They had tariffs, tariffs. It's because they didn't have an income tax. But I won't go there right now, but I definitely will another day. And yet, the Republican Party, which claims to be the party of liberty, which claims to be the party of free market capitalism, people who quote Milton Friedman and Hayek and Mises, among others, people who talk about private property rights and getting government off our backs. I guess they just like talking about it, because when push comes to shove, actually legislating, they don't believe in it. And I love this. We've got these naysayers, a.k.a. conservatives, who won't go along. And the rhino Republicans all talk like Alinskyites. Start trashing them, personalizing the attacks. If they just come along, we've met them halfway. Met them halfway. You said you were going to pull out Obamacare by the roots. I guess you didn't mean it. You didn't mean it in 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016. Why the hell do you think you won the House and the Senate and the presidency? And one state legislature after another. You only have one chance to get this right. You're not going to have the House, the Senate, and the presidency forever. You're just not. But part of the problem is these liberal Republicans. They call them moderate Republicans, which cracks me up. So you got the conservatives and then the moderates. The conservative right-winger naysayers, the purists, and the moderates. So reasonable, the moderates. They're liberals. Big government liberals. I was talking about that one in South Florida. What is her name again? Ross Lightnin or whatever her name is. I read somewhere that she has more of her constituents on Medicaid, or a huge number of her constituents on Medicaid, and her objection is she doesn't want that changed. So she's all in for Obamacare. She pretends she's not, but she is. So now she is among the moderate Republicans that make up the tail wagging the dog. Elena Ross Lightning. But they don't pressure her. We don't want to upset the moderates, for crying out loud. Can't upset them. No, they're the right-wingers. We're going to take them out. Let me tell you something, a couple things. If they dare to do, again, targeting Scott Garrett, targeting Huelskamp, stuff like that, we, on this show, you Levinites, we're going to target the liberal Republicans. They can call them moderates, they're not, in these red districts, and we're going to take them out in these primaries. We're going to push back. And I was glad to see the National Rifle Association and some of the others. They're going to back Koch. What were the others? Some of the Club for Growth. They're going to back the solid conservatives. And that's good. We can't allow them to do what they did before. Just cannot allow it. But there's not a lot of time left, ladies and gentlemen. And let me add one other thing. If there are improvements to this bill that really matter, you can thank the conservatives and the Freedom Caucus. They're the ones who will have done it. The ones who are being trashed. The ones who are being trashed. And I'll say this. So irresponsible is the Republican leadership in the House. So irresponsible are these low IQ Republicans who just go along. Hey, we gotta show the American. We just gotta vote. Yeah, gotta move on to something. Move along. We gotta move on. These clowns. Look what they've done to this presidency. They're the ones going out there and saying Trump can't lose this or it'll damage his presidency. Look what they're saying and promoting. And the liberal media doing the same thing. So now this is about the Trump presidency, not about your health care. This is how Washington thinks. This is how sick the people are inside the Beltway, especially the media. But now this is about the Trump presidency. It's not about your well-being and your family's well-being and your access to quality medical care. No. You don't understand. It's all about politics. It's all about the parties. It's all about Congress and the White House. No. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
By the way, I know it's going to be a while till Rediscovering Americanism comes out. I'm extremely excited about this book. The title is Rediscovering Americanism. The subtitle is And the Tyranny of Progressivism. Mark, the title's so long. Really? Like Men in Black? How the Supreme Court is Destroying America? My first book? Or Liberty and Tyranny, a Conservative Manifesto? There's the title and there's the subtitle. But Rediscovering Americanism is the key. And all these things we discuss every day, all these things these other hosts discuss, TV, radio, whatever, when you really get deeply into it, you begin to really understand what's going on. The forces of good versus the forces of evil. True. And they apply to every one of these current events that we have to deal with. So I got to thinking, really a couple of years ago, we never really discuss as a society Americanism. What is Americanism? Beyond the superficial, the basic stuff. Where does it come from? Why do we believe these things? Why are they important? Again, taking it several steps beyond. And these other forces, who are they and why do they do what they do? Again, taking it several steps beyond. And so that's what Rediscovering Americanism is all about. And I cannot wait for it to come out. I really cannot. Now, I turned it in a few weeks ago. You do the editing back and forth. But my editor, who happens to be a vice president and senior editor, looked at it. I should read you what he wrote to me, but I'll do that another day. It's on Amazon now, and it amazes me. Amazon discounts a book right out of the box, and that's good. 3.5 months before it comes out. That's even better. So we'll be patient. It'll come out. When it comes out, we will address these things that I feel need to be addressed as a country. But I hope you'll have the book in hand when we start talking about it on Independence Day when it comes out. And you can get it now on Amazon, if you like. I want to spend a minute on why Hillsdale College is relevant to your life, even if you don't have a family member of college age. Hillsdale helps all of us know how critical liberty is in every aspect of our lives. They can help you really understand that a nation and her people thrive when there's economic freedom, and how our government is uniquely formed with the express purpose of protecting the dignity and worth of every human being. For instance, there are very few institutions that dedicate their entire existence to helping us think through these things. Most schools don't, that's for sure. The mass media certainly doesn't, but Hillsdale College does. And my dear friend Dr. Larry Arndt, president of Hillsdale College and an extraordinary scholar, particularly as applies to the Declaration of Independence and Winston Churchill. He knows you hunger for truth, and that our republic and way of life depends on American citizens, starting with you, becoming great advocates for basic truths. No matter your age, it's never too late to learn. You can learn through their free online courses, free subscription to Imprimis, and local free Hillsdale events. Here's how you do it. It's very simple. Go to levinforhillsdale.com, Levin for Hillsdale.com, to see how Hillsdale can help you pursue truth and defend liberty. That's levinforhillsdale.com, Levin for Hillsdale.com. What a great institution. The great president there, Larry Arnn, and a great faculty. I mean, it really is a spectacular place. All right, Mr. Producer, give me a good caller, if you would, please. And he's looking. KNUS, Dave in Denver. Go right ahead, sir.
Mark, love you, brother.
Thank you.
So great to be on your show. These clowns, they gotta go. It's unbelievable. I called Mike Kaufman today.
I assume he's a Republican congressman?
Yeah, he sure is. In my district in Denver, Colorado. Said, You guys don't even represent us anymore. They're spineless.
I'm guessing he's all in, was all in from day one, and he just wants to tell everybody, see, we repealed it. See, we did what we said we would.
Yeah, right. Hey, I remember one time when they actually put a bill on Obama's desk, and they said, repeal it, cancel it, it's over. This is
what Senator Lee, Mike Lee, keeps saying. Why would you do that with Obama and not do that with Trump?
Easy.
Unless you're frauds.
These guys are jokers.
All right, my friend, Dave in Denver. Let's continue, shall we? Dr. Maggie, South Lake, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
Yes, Mark, thank you very much for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I think the health care situation is absolutely pitiful. I'm 68 years old. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist. I've been in practice. I started in the 70s. The problem is the congressmen, the senators are not listening to the people like me that have lived this. I practiced. I was dedicated. I loved going to medicine, going to work every day. It wasn't about the money. The key is you treat the patient. You take care of the patient. I left medicine 17 years ago because of the system. I love practicing. I go to Africa now. The problem is it's pervasive through all the professions that's involved with medicine. And I'm a physician, but the doctors are greedy. These nonprofit hospitals are greedy. They overcharge. The pharmaceuticals, I've seen birth controls go the same substance in a birth control from 50 cents to $45 a pack. Now tell me what's there. The key, and I could speak for hours, but what...
Well, I can tell you why. There's two reasons why. Because if you look at the reimbursement rate, they charge higher because they don't think they're going to get the reimbursement that they want on whatever it is from the variety of government insurance plans or subsidies that are out there. That's number one. Number two, anytime the government gets involved in anything, it drives up cost and reduces quality. When you replace the invisible hand with the iron fist, that's exactly what happens. These are the consequences, some intended, some unintended. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. Geez, I hope I'm not coming down with a cold. 877-381-3811. Next issue. Your Supreme Court. The Democrats really are a disgrace. They didn't treat these hearings with any level of seriousness. As a matter of fact, there didn't need to be any hearings at all. I don't know what kind of justice Neil Gorsuch will wind up being. I hope he turns out to be among the greatest. But as a nominee, he is absolutely superb, with a superb background. The idea that he's supposed to answer all their trick questions and be specific about his answers and violate any ethical rules any judge would have as a condition precedent to them voting for him is a complete spectacle. It's a setup. And so this is their litmus test. The litmus test for the Democrats is to abandon the Constitution and to adopt their ideology. Otherwise, they're going to vote against you. It's actually worse than that. Chuck Schumer announced from the Senate floor today, in essence, that he will participate in a filibuster against the Gorsuch nomination. This will be the second filibuster of a Supreme Court nominee in the entirety of American history. The first was Abe Fortas. Abe Fortas, who was a crook, in my view, and quite unethical, who was advising Lyndon Johnson while an associate justice on the Supreme Court, who was telling Lyndon Johnson what the court was about to rule on and who was voting what, giving political advice to Lyndon Johnson, and 40% of his salary he received from a teaching job that he never reported. And it's worse than that. And so he was filibustered, and he was stopped. This will be the first case in American history where a nominee to the United States Supreme Court is filibustered because a political party believes it disagrees with his judicial philosophy. And what is this radical judicial philosophy that Neil Gorsuch has? It's the radical judicial philosophy that all of you have, which is follow the Constitution. Do the best you can to discern what the words mean from the text and what the framers intended. There can be no other way. If you're going to amend the Constitution, the body politic is to amend the Constitution through the amendment processes. There's two of them. But courts can't amend the Constitution. Courts can't undermine the franchise. We talk on and on and on, the liberals do too, about women getting the right to vote and minorities getting the right to vote and this one getting the right to vote. And yet, when 5 justices can nullify an election, the will of the people, I'm not arguing for majoritarianism. What I'm saying, when they substitute their political policy preferences for that of the people, it's absolutely wrong. Now, when they rule based on the Constitution, which may conflict with the will of the people, so be it. But they are not to substitute their personal policy preferences and their politics for yours. When you go in front of a judge, let alone a justice, you expect a fair hearing. Not a bunch of ideological demigods. So not only do the leftists, the Democrat Party in the Senate, seek to further destroy our judiciary, and in particular the United States Supreme Court, they're now about to destroy what's left of the United States Senate. Harry Reid killed the filibuster rule for presidential nominees and lower court nominees. Now, the Republicans are going to have to kill the filibuster rule because of the intention, and in fact, the acts of the Democrat majority. Because you must put the Constitution before the filibuster rule. You cannot allow a minority party led by radical ideologues on the left who have no respect or reverence for our constitutional system, for our history, constantly trashing American history, constantly trashing this country during the hearings, during the course of the hearings. You have to stand up to these ideological bullies and these kamikaze Democrats. The Constitution must come first, not the filibuster rule. So if they do filibuster, and they said they will, that is a radical move that must be put down. And they're doing it in this instance. Wait until the next instance. Now they hide behind this guy, Garrett, who was nominated by Obama with less than a year left in his presidency. Merrick Garland. Thank you, Mr. Producer. I forgot his name. That's how memorable the guy is. Merrick Garland. And Obama tried to slip him in at the end of his presidency to replace Scalia. And the Democrats are feigning outrage. And you know this because Juan Williams is all over Fox feigning outrage. Oh, my gosh, of course, this is all about Merrick Garland. So in other words, you have this outstanding nominee, and we must destroy him and stop him because of Merrick Garland. Now, that's not what they said. That's one of the things they said. Let's be really, really clear about this. The Democrats are opposing Neil Gorsuch, Judge Gorsuch, because he embraces the Constitution. Because he believes in the Constitution. And because he won't give them the answers that they want to specific questions. That's why they're going to stop him. Or want to stop him, I should say. You had a handful of Republicans vote for Sotomayor. She's a radical leftist. You had a handful of Republicans vote for Kagan, another radical leftist. You had a lot of Republicans vote for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a radical leftist, and so forth and so on. The Republicans are patsies. They're always reacting to the Democrats, and the Democrats are always burning things down politically. And their supporters, literally, in some cases. And so now they'll abuse the filibuster rule, as Chuck Schumer abused it when it came to George W. Bush's circuit court nominees. I remember Miguel Estrada, brilliant man, who'd been nominated to an appellate court. And some of their memos became available on why they wanted to stop Miguel Estrada. Obviously, they wanted to stop him because he also loved the Constitution, and you can't have anybody like that on a federal court, let alone the Supreme Court. But the memos that they were circulating among themselves in their left-wing kook special interest groups were made public, and I put some of them in the back of Men in Black, my first book. One of the main reasons they wanted to stop Miguel Estrada is because he was Hispanic, and is Hispanic. And they didn't want the first Hispanic on the Supreme Court to be nominated and confirmed, I should say, by a Republican president. And I should also correct myself, on the circuit court. Their concern was that if he was on the circuit court and did a great job, that Bush the younger, Bush 43, would eventually nominate him to the Supreme Court. That was the scenario. And they weren't going to permit it. The Democrat Party has a history of evil and deviousness. From slavery to segregation, to Jim Crow, to today. It really has always been a party of tyranny. It really has. That's not to say all of its members are part of it. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about those who lead the apparatus, run the institution. They've always had a tyrannical mindset. In fact, the progressive movement, the early progressive movement, was led by segregationists and racists in many respects, including Woodrow Wilson. And the Republicans are so pathetic and inarticulate, they can't even explain that and defend themselves. Somehow they got on the wrong side of these issues. I'm not talking about slavery and segregation, the wrong side of history, where somehow now Republicans are blamed for what the Democrats did. So the Democrats now are in full destruction mode, full kamikaze mode. They never cared much for the Constitution. They don't even care about these institutions, the Senate or the House. When they don't control them, they just assume burn them down politically. They've created these massive unelected entities, these departments and agencies, to continue their ideological work, whether they win elections or not. And they believe they own the Supreme Court. They believe they own it. And so, if we have to eliminate the use of the filibuster rule when it comes to Supreme Court justices, well, then that's what we have to do. But that's another tradition, another institution destroyed by the Democrats. They don't care. They are of the ends justify the means. They are, quite frankly, the leadership of the Democrat Party today, ideologically, is without question, in my view, an offshoot of the Marxist doctrine and mentality. And they're practicing more and more Alinsky tactics. That's who they are. That's what they are. Guys like John Kennedy, I didn't care for him, but I mean, guys like John Kennedy could never get elected president of the Democrat Party today. Harry Truman, no way. No way. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, just a couple of years ago, if you wanted to protect your family, you had to spend a lot of money on a lot of complicated products. You'd be forced into a long-term contract, securing your home with a tangled mess of wires and buttons and levers. It was very complicated and expensive. Thanks to Simply Safe, protecting your family is now simple. They're blowing the roof off the home security industries. Matter of fact, Simply Safe takes all the elements of good home security and streamlines them into one amazing system. 24/7 professional monitoring, powerful sensors, and a high-definition security camera. And Simply Safe's camera, let me tell you something, it's brilliant. In the event of a break-in, it automatically starts recording. So you'll get cold, hard evidence for the police sent right to your smartphone. Plus, Simply Safe lets you live stream HD footage anytime you want to. Now look, I can only talk about this for 60 seconds. You can check it out, and you really should. Go to simplysafemark.com right now, get my special 10% discount, and protect your family the smart way. That's simplysafemark.com for 10% off your home security. Simplysafemark.com. Hey, Mark, do you have it? You bet I do. Simplysafemark.com. You'll get 10% off your home security system. If you've been thinking about it, I wouldn't wait any longer. Defend yourself and defend your family. This is what you do. All right. So Chuck Schumer. First of all, Ted Cruz, at the Gorsuch confirmation hearing yesterday, kind of summed it up very well. Cut 10, go.
These are serious attacks. Many of them impugn your integrity directly. And yet, this is a confirmation hearing. The founders understood a confirmation hearing would be in the political arena. My colleagues, the Democrats, have a right to engage in whatever attacks they choose. But it's a little rich for them to be maligning a sitting federal judge and at the same time giving speeches about how unacceptable it is for anyone to criticize a federal judge. You can't have both at the same time.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Exposing the everyday hypocrisy of the left. Speaking of, Schmucky Chucky Schumer on the floor of the Senate today. Cut 11, go.
After careful deliberation, I have concluded that I cannot support Judge Neil Gorsuch's...
No way! Wait a minute. That's a shocker. Chuck Schumer, after careful deliberation, cannot support Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. Holy mackerel. Go ahead.
Supreme Court. His nomination will have a cloture vote. He will have to
That means his nomination will be filibustered. And there it is. What a fool this man is. What a snake oil salesman. I've run out of words to describe him. He's so low. Go ahead.
Votes for confirmation. My vote will be no, and I urge my colleagues to do the same. To my Republican friends who think that if Judge Gorsuch fails to reach 60 votes, we ought to change the rules, I say if this nominee cannot earn 60 votes, a bar met by each of President Obama's nominees and George Bush's last two nominees, the answer isn't to change the rules. It's to change.
Shut up, you sleazeball. And that's exactly what you are. Who the hell do you think you are dictating to the Senate and everybody else as you go about firebombing politically everything in your way because you don't get what you want like a 3-year-old? You're going to filibuster a nominee for the Supreme Court the second time in American history and the first time with no basis whatsoever. And then you're going to lecture the Republican majority on why they shouldn't suspend the rule because of you. You're an appalling fraud. That's exactly what you are. Cut 12, go.
Judge Gorsuch was unable to sufficiently convince me that he'd be an independent check on a president who has shown almost no restraint from executive overreach.
What a clown. I thought he was talking about Barack Obama there for a minute. Gorsuch, just listen to the spin, the poison. Unable to sufficiently convince Schumer that he'd be an independent check on the president who has shown almost no restraint from executive overreach? This man is a tyrant. Go ahead.
Second, he was unable to convince me that he would be a mainstream justice.
Oh, you want a mainstream justice, huh? I've had enough of this clown. Thank you, New York. Thank you for sending us this moron to the United States Senate time and time and time again. Oh, I know, my listeners, you haven't done it. But look around. The morons around you have done it. This man, how can I describe him, Mr. Producer, without getting in trouble? You know what he is? He's the turd in the swimming pool. I'll be right back.
On one.
You know, we lost a caller who was going to remind us. You may recall when Barack Obama was running for the United States Senate from Illinois. He wasn't very well known. He was a backbencher in the state Senate. He had run in the Democrat primary for Congress, and he had lost. And he was running against a guy by the name of Jack Ryan. And Jack Ryan had divorced. He had been in a divorce with an actress. And, you know, there were allegations made back and forth. And Jerry Ryan, I believe, was her name. Allegations. So the records were sealed in California, remember? And suddenly there were all these efforts, particularly by the Tribune, the Chicago Tribune, to get those records unsealed by a California judge. Now, typically a judge will keep them sealed, but the judge unsealed the records. And there was an allegation he had brought his wife to sex clubs in New York and Paris and that sort of thing. Knocked him out of the race. Knocked him out of the race. These things just seem to happen, don't they? You know, the IRS, and now the Trump information and so forth. And, of course, we're supposed to ignore it all and focus on stupid crap that the liberals and Democrats keep waving in our faces in the media. Same damn thing. No, there needs to be an investigation, and we need to investigate the manner in which intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies were used by the prior administration, the Obama administration, particularly in the last 12 months during the course of the election, during the general election, after the general election, and right up to the time when they left office. We have enough here from the New York Times that raises questions. And there are leaks. And the Obama administration was the administration at the time in which most of this occurred. So the buck stops there. Or all of a sudden, are we going to close our eyes and pretend we don't see anything because we're afraid of being intimidated by the media bullies? Well, I'm not afraid of it, and you shouldn't be either. The American people despise the media. And they despise them more and more for a good reason. You know, there's a famous quote, expect the best, plan for the worst, and prepare to be surprised. It's a great quote, isn't it? I think that's the rule every American should live by as we see President Trump fight to reverse 8 years of Obama policies. The president's going to have a bold tax plan soon. Now, that's our best. The worst is that we've inherited crippling debt that the U.S. government and private business has incurred over the past decade, and more, really. This debt, along with currency manipulation by a whole bunch of countries, are causing people like Alan Greenspan, one of the great economists, to warn us that we are facing, quote, explosive inflation, unquote. And I say the same thing, and I'm no great economist. I just see it. It's called common sense. Now, this is the worst for which we have to plan. And your planning should include, in my view, diversification. And diversification, in my view, should include gold. Gold. That I think every smart investor and government owns to combat against inflation and currency manipulation. My gold company, the gold company I use, is our wonderful sponsor, Goldline. Goldline has been in business for over half a century. Only good companies, only great companies are in business that long and beat the competition. Goldline lets you start for as little as $100 a month. That's it. So call Goldline right now. They're open. 877-365-COIN. 877-365-COIN. Get the free risk information. And if you call immediately, but you have to call now, Goldline will also give you a free Ronald Reagan presidential dollar just for calling them. When they run out, they run out. So my advice, call fast, like right now. Here's the number. 1-877-365-COIN. 1-877-365-COIN. Get your free Ronald Reagan presidential dollar. But don't just do that. Look into this. This is important to help protect your assets. Because I believe that times are going to get tough. When you look at Schumer, when you look at Congress, when you look at this, the spending and all the rest of it, you have to shake your head. These people don't live in reality. But you do. And at some point, it's going to be a big, big problem. Dan, Inglewood, California, on the Mark Levin app. Go.
How are you, Mark?
Okay.
I think we can fix Obamacare, at least in terms of saving a lot of money, by doing two small things. Number one, renegotiate with Big Pharma. We're paying 100% of retail, Kaiser, and
What does Big Pharma have to do with the massive expansion of Medicaid?
It's not about a massive expansion of Medicaid.
Yeah. No, it is. All you guys who want to do this, you ignore what's in Obamacare. It's a massive expansion of Medicaid. I'm educating you. Please, sir, pay attention so you learn something. You've got all these other requirements that are unaffordable. No caps, people with pre-existing conditions. Somebody gets cancer or heart disease or diabetes, they say, you know what, I want to sign up for health care. They haven't put a nickel in. And you have to not only cover them, but there's no cap. You have to cover somebody's kids up to the age of 26. These are the problems. Okay, what is it, pal? Educate us all about Big Pharma. Go ahead.
There's two elements. Number one, Big Pharma gets paid way too much money. They charge us retail.
How do you know Big Pharma gets paid way?
Let somebody finish their...
No, why don't you, rather than talk like a liberal with conclusions, let's be specific. Which pharmaceutical company and which drug? What are you talking about?
Veterans Administration.
Get off the phone, you idiot. Liberals, they never want to focus. Just tell me exactly what you're talking about. No. We're to attack doctors and nurses and hospitals and insurance companies and big pharma. We even talk like liberals now. Big pharma. All we need is some more competition, more liberty, more choice, more. Now, big pharma. Well, if big pharma's so rich, then buy their stock. If doctors are so rich, then become a doctor. If hospitals are so great, then invest in hospitals. Most of them are publicly traded. And this is what big government does. This is what progressive liberalism does. American turning against American. Now, you see, ladies and gentlemen, the issue is more centralized control by government. Government should set price controls. That's what he's talking about, the schmo. Let him finish to say what? Nah. Here I was having such a good day. Lewis, Long Island, the great WABC. Go.
Mr. Levin, Mark, this is Dr. Lou Fiella. I'm a surgeon out here on Long Island.
Well, obviously, you're earning way too much money. Go right ahead.
Oh, my gosh. I'll tell you what. Honestly, this career was never about money for me. I've been very blessed with a phenomenal.
Let me ask you a question before we go on. How many years were you in college? Just follow along.
Yeah, 4 years of undergraduate.
All right, hold on. How many years post-college were you?
4 years of medical school.
That's 8 years. Then what?
Followed by 6 years of surgical training for my surgical
Hold on
specialty.
now. That's 14 years, right?
14 years, that's correct.
14 years outside of high school. 14 years.
Yeah.
And people act like you just walk into these things. How hard was it to get into medical school?
It was incredibly difficult. I'm a white male. I'm a kid from Bensonhurst. Grew up on Long Island. Product of the public school system. Went through the SUNY system. Had to sacrifice tremendously. I feel very blessed to have achieved what I've achieved. I've had tremendous help from my family and support and loved ones. And I appreciate you so much pointing some of these things out. It's incredibly impressive to me, Mr. Levin. I have to tell you, listening to the callers, bringing up certain facts, and my hair is being pulled out of my head as I listen to it. Listen, I wouldn't change my career for anything. I love what I do. I love my patients. I still do, despite what's happened to our insurance industry. But one very frustrating thing that I have to listen to every time with this discussion, and I have to sadly say it's even from our Republican contemporaries, is that there's one elephant in the room that seemingly is not touched, and it drives me absolutely crazy.
Let me guess, the trial lawyers.
Well, trial lawyers are horrendous. It's a true thing, but it's even beyond that. I mean, that's a very insidious cancer that has its effects throughout the entire system. But I have to say what frustrates me that no one ever talks about. We talk about health care as an inalienable right. I'll tell you, most doctors wouldn't disagree with that.
I'm sitting on the edge of my chair. What is it? What's the answer?
Well, here's what it is. I think it's the fact that the health insurance industry has evolved into this system that is so different than many other or all other insurance products. They have developed these micro-monopolies through various laws. And, we own a business, me and you, and we have 100 employees, and we want to get some estimates for insurance policies. We get three or four choices. And you want to know something? It's collusion in its most unadulterated form. If you look at the fee schedules that we get as physicians, and I don't even want to get into the paltriness of it, if you look at these fee schedules, they're all shocking.
Okay, doctor, listen to me. They're not insurance companies anymore. They're quasi-government agencies. That's what they are. Same with the banks in this country. You talk to a CEO of a bank, he'll tell you 80% of what they do is dictated by the government. Sending paper back and forth to various government departments and agencies to make sure that they comply with whatever the government tells them to do. CEO of a major bank told me this. He said, we spend 80% of our time. We are 80% controlled. He said it's a fiction that that the banking system is private anymore. Even the extent of the assets they hold are monitored. And the insurance company can't put out a policy that it wants to put out. They can't set rules that they want to set. They can't. They have to live within the rules that are set for them. And, of course, what we need to do is break this system open with competition. So there's more insurance companies, small, large, medium, subsidiaries, cross state lines and so forth. But anyway, you got 1 more minute. Go ahead.
Well, listen, thank you. And honestly, it's such an enormous pleasure to be able to even speak with you because I admire you tremendously. You know, you just said it, though. You hit the nail on the head. Exposing the health insurance industry to the economic principles that every other industry is exposed to is really what's going to tremendously help this system more than anyone's going to realize until it happens. The populace is going to be the beneficiary of this.
Yes.
And that's what we need. And, you know, it's all of a sudden now in phase 3 of our current plan that's being offered here. That should be in phase 1. That should be first and foremost. We should now open up all borders. The health insurance industry has to just deal with economic principles that every other industry has to deal with, and let's see what happens. You know,
I agree, but it can't work that way because tell me, how many new insurance companies have started up in the last 10 years?
Not many.
I can't think of any.
This is true. I mean, these
well,
are
why is that?
Humongous, because it's a huge monopoly.
No, because you keep saying it's a huge monopoly because the government puts small insurance companies out of business and encourages other insurance companies to gobble up other insurance companies. So what you have is an oligopoly. All right, my friend, I appreciate it. By the way, I want to correct something. In that, I played Chuck Schumer saying both of George W. Bush's Supreme Court nominees were able to get at least 60 votes. Well, of course, Schumer's a liar. Sam Alito got 58 votes. It was 58-42, and Schumer threatened to filibuster him, too. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I would strongly encourage, listen to me, folks, this is important. I would strongly encourage Chairman Nunes of the House Intelligence Committee to get access to the presidential daily intelligence reports that were provided to President Barack Obama in the last 12 months of his presidency, particularly the last 8 months of his presidency. The daily intelligence report. I keep talking about this, and I hope that they will. One more time, so the backbenchers can report it tomorrow morning. Seek the daily intelligence, the presidential daily intelligence reviews, those reports, over the last 8 months, preferably the last 12 months, and see what was in them. You know, I wish this bag under my eye would just go away. Now, if that sounds like you every morning, you're not alone. Bags and puffiness under the eyes are a problem for millions of American men and women. Unless you use Genucel, the plant stem cell treatment from Chamonix, then you'll have no bags and puffiness. Listen to Susan from New Jersey. She wrote, I've been using Genucel for a couple of months. The puffiness around my eyes is gone. Even the crow's feet and small lines have disappeared. I love your product. Not only Susan. I have this buddy who's a cardiologist. His name is Teddy. Every other time I see him, he says, I love Genucel. And it really does do the trick. My mother loves it, too. In fact, I have a number of family members who use it. Friends, too. Now, here's the thing. With its instant effects, you'll see results in the first 12 hours or your money back. Does anybody else promise that? You'll see results. Instant effects in the first 12 hours or your money back. Call now and you'll save big on Genucel's risk-free limited time offer. Call 800-SKIN-604, 800-SKIN-604. Plus, right now, during the Chamonix Spring Clearance Event, Chamonix will give you an instant $50 coupon while supplies last. I strongly encourage you to call this toll-free number immediately. 800-SKIN-604, 800-SKIN-604, 800-SKIN-604. Remember, with its instant effects, you'll see results in the first 12 hours or your money back. That's a big promise. And they will do it. And they stand behind their products. Now over at the Washington Free Beacon, headline, Intelligence reports reveal improper political surveillance of Trump transition team. Obama White House received foreign intelligence that included discussions by Trump and aides. Apparently there's more information coming, if you believe the Fox report and the Free Beacon report. And they've been very reliable in the past. Now, I do not expect the statist media, which protects the kamikaze Democrats and is the Praetorian Guard to Obama, to give a damn. But we don't need them, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need them, we the American people, to discuss these matters among ourselves. And this is why their reliability and their support is so weak. By the way, last word on Obamacare. Trump says he's not negotiating anymore, and Obamacare can stay in place if he doesn't get his vote. Well, that seems rather strange. Seems rather strange. I would still encourage you folks to call your members of Congress tonight and tomorrow morning, leave messages, be polite, and tell them to vote no. We want a good plan, not just another plan. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel. Ladies and gentlemen, check out Levin TV tonight. It's terrific, and I'll see you tomorrow on the radio. God bless you.